Before I start this video, I just want to say that if you haven't seen WandaVision episode 5 yet, or don't care about spoilers, you might want to watch that first, because I'm going to spoil the crap out of episode 5.
Wanda, who is this?
Okay, with that out of the way, let's begin this video, talking immediately about the end of the episode. So Wanda's twin brother Pietro Maximoff, aka Quicksilver, has been resurrected. And while that's somewhat surprising all on its own, Quicksilver's return to the MCU isn't necessarily the big surprise cameo in this episode. It's who's playing him. Because it's not this Pietro, which we all expected, but it's this one. For those not in the know, this is the MCU Quicksilver, who was introduced in Avengers Age of Ultron, played by Aaron Taylor Johnson. The Quicksilver that we see in WandaVision, he was introduced in X-Men Days of Future Past, played by actor Evan Peters. So okay, they recast Pietro just like Darcy said, who cares? Well, you should. If you're a fan of the MCU, you should care. If you're a fan of the X-Men, you should definitely really care. Okay, so let me explain. So when WandaVision was first announced, it became my most anticipated MCU property, and I say property and not just Disney Plus show, because I was looking forward to this TV series more than a lot of the movies, with the exception of Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, of course. So why is it my most anticipated? Well, let's step away from the MCU for a second and talk about real world stuff. So remember when Disney bought 21st Century Fox? Well, alongside that acquisition, Disney now owns the movie rights to both the X-Men and the Fantastic Four franchises. So having Pietro being played by the Fox version of the character in the MCU basically opens up a bunch of possibilities. For one, that confirms the multiverse in the MCU. I know they kind of talked about the multiverse stuff in Avengers Endgame, but that was a multiverse within the MCU movies via time travel and all that stuff. Having this version of Pietro in the MCU though confirms a true multiverse, meaning that every existence of every Marvel character is now, in a way, canon and part of the MCU. So while not directly part of the MCU storyline, all the past X-Men films, the original Spider-Man trilogy, they're all now technically part of the MCU through a multiverse. How? Let me explain. In the comics, Marvel makes loose references to different versions of their heroes in television shows, movies, novels, and even memes in pop culture. Deadpool is a good example of this, as he always breaks the fourth wall, joking about real-life events and people, which basically makes our reality part of the multiverse too.
Zip it, Thanos, we have a deal and you fuck.
Even in films like Into the Spider-Verse, there was a callback to the infamous dancing scene in Spider-Man 3, and there's also a reference in the post-credits stinger featuring Spider-Man from the 1967 cartoon. So basically, it's not wrong to say that everything is part of the multiverse, because that's what a multiverse is. So, with Evan Peters now being the new Quicksilver, that means that the Scarlet Witch altered reality by borrowing another version of her brother, which explains why it's not Aaron Taylor Johnson in the role of Pietro, but somebody else instead. Now, this can all just be speculation, of course, and hell, for all we know, maybe Aaron Taylor Johnson didn't want to play Pietro again, and Marvel decided to just cast Evan Peters instead. Could be as simple as that. But I think there's more to it, because there has to be a reason why Darcy even points out that Pietro was recast, because, well, it's an important detail. I mean, they didn't recast J. Jonah Jameson. J.K. Simmons, who plays JJJ in the original Spider-Man trilogy, plays the same character in Spider-Man Far From Home as revealed in the film's mid-credit sequence. So why didn't they recast him? Well, I think it's because there's a multiverse. With it being announced that both Spider-Man and Wanda will be having ties to the upcoming movie Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, it's all starting to make sense and come together now. But back to Pietro. What episode 5 of WandaVision means in the grand scheme of things is that while yes, X-Men coming to the MCU is inevitable, Pietro being recast means we could be possibly seeing the return of X-Men actors from older films reprising their roles in the MCU. That means James McAvoy could be reprising his role as Professor X, or Michael Fassbender could be playing Magneto in the future. Hugh Jackman did say though numerous times that Logan was his final film playing Wolverine, but anything could happen at this point. Anyway, what do you guys think of the surprise cameo in the 5th episode? How'd you guys react? Are you guys looking forward to see X-Men actors reprising their roles in the MCU if that indeed happens, or do you guys want to see new faces? Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below, and I'll see you guys next time.